Imagine waking up one day to find that every breath you take, every step you walk, even every purchase you make is precisely calculated as carbon emission data and automatically deducted from your digital wallet. Sounds like science fiction, but this might be closer to reality than you think. Hey everyone, welcome to Zen Go. Today we're diving into a topic that might make you rethink the era we're living through. In 2024, while we're still debating whether AI will replace human jobs, a much grander transformation plan has actually been quietly underway. This plan has a seemingly benign name, the Great Reset, but its influence could be far beyond our imagination. A book that sparked deep thoughts. In June 2020, just when the whole world was scrambling to deal with the pandemic, a book titled COVID-19, The Great Reset, quietly appeared. The authors were Klaus Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum, and French economist Thierry Malaret. At first glance, this was just two scholars' thoughts on the post-pandemic world, but look closer and you'll find some intriguing details. First, the timing. This book was published in June 2020, when the pandemic had only been spreading globally for less than 6 months. Anyone who's published a book knows that from conception to publication, the normal process takes at least a year. So here's the question. These two authors either had supernatural powers to predict the future, or they'd been preparing for this reset all along. The book's core arguments sound reasonable. The pandemic exposed the fragility of existing systems, and we need to build a more sustainable, fair, and resilient world. But when you dive deeper, you'll discover that this better world contains some deeply unsettling elements. Take comprehensive digital tracking. For instance, the book mentions that 5.2 billion smartphones can be used to track everyone's movements and health status. On the surface, it's for pandemic control, but think about it. Once this system is established, what else could it be used for? Your emotional fluctuations, spending habits, social networks, everything becomes data that can be analysed and manipulated. This reminds me of an old Silicon Valley joke. If you're not paying for the product, then you are the product. In this new world, each of us might become products in a data farm, the power network behind Davos. To understand the real meaning of the Great Reset, we need to figure out what the World Economic Forum actually is. On the surface, it's an independent and impartial non-profit foundation, but in reality, it might be the world's largest lobbying group. This organization's membership fees are ridiculously high. Individual annual fee of $52,000, corporate membership $263,000, and strategic partnership a whopping $527,000. Who can afford these fees? Apple, Microsoft, Goldman Sachs, Morgan, and other globally powerful companies and individuals. Klaus Schwab's own background is quite interesting. His father once supplied weapons to the Nazi regime, while he himself received elite education from childhood, studying at Harvard's Kennedy School. This background naturally inclines him toward top-down governance models. The annual Davos Forum is like a gathering of global elites. What they discuss in this Swiss town isn't abstract theory, but policies that can directly affect the lives of 7 billion people worldwide. From gender equality to climate change, from digital currency to social governance, these topics eventually become policy directions for various countries. It's like a modern version of a noble council, except the nobles' titles have changed. From Duke and Earl to CEO and Chairman, And we ordinary people are like commoners, waiting for the nobles to decide our fate. The gentle trap of digital surveillance. In 2016, Danish politician Ida Auken published an article with an enticing title, "Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better." This article depicted a fully digitized future world. No private cars, no houses, not even personal belongings. Everything turned into services. Sounds environmentally friendly, sharing-oriented, and wonderful, right? But think carefully. When you own nothing, what freedom do you have left? When all services are allocated by algorithms, who decides what you can get and what you can't? This reminds me of a Silicon Valley phenomenon. Many tech companies are promoting subscription models. You no longer buy software, but pay monthly to use it. On the surface, this lowers the barrier for users, but in reality, it gives companies greater control. Once you stop paying or violate their rules, you instantly lose everything. Now imagine if this model expanded to the entire society. Your housing, transportation, food, all become subscription services. And what determines whether you can continue subscribing is your social credit score. If your carbon emissions exceed limits, if you make inappropriate statements, if your behavior doesn't match algorithmic expectations, then sorry, your subscription is cancelled. This is the gentle trap of digital surveillance. It won't force you brutally, but makes you voluntarily give up freedom in exchange for convenience and security. New game rules of carbon economy. Another core concept of the Great Reset is carbon neutrality. Bill Gates proposed in his book How to Avoid a Climate Disaster that humans emit 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases annually into the atmosphere, and our goal should be zero emissions. From 51 billion to zero, this sounds like an impossible mission. But here's an interesting phenomenon. In 2020, during global lockdowns, with industry shut down and everyone staying home, global carbon emissions only decreased by 5.8%. What does this tell us? To achieve true zero emissions might require completely changing our lifestyle and economic model. And this is exactly what Great Reset supporters want. They propose the concept of stakeholder capitalism. Companies' goals should no longer be unlimited profit pursuit for shareholders, but serving all stakeholders and even society as a whole. Sounds noble, but the question is, who defines what constitutes social interest? Who decides how companies should serve society? This reminds me of a Silicon Valley trend. More and more tech companies talk about social responsibility while simultaneously strengthening their market monopoly positions. When a company controls both information flow and the definition of moral standards, is this progress or regression? Alibaba Group President Michael Evans revealed at the 2022 Davos Forum that they're developing software to track individual carbon footprints, where you go, what you buy, what you eat, how you travel. Everything will be recorded and calculated. On the surface, this is for environmental protection, but in reality, it's a comprehensive behavioral surveillance system. In this new carbon economic system, carbon emission rights will become a new form of currency. Developed countries can sell carbon quotas to developing countries, and individuals need to pay for their carbon footprints. This sounds fair, but think about it. Who sets these standards? Who controls this trading system? The answer might not be surprising. Ideological confrontation. The controversy surrounding the Great Reset essentially reflects a conflict between two worldviews, the struggle between globalism and nationalism, or anti-globalism. Globalists believe that humanity faces global challenges, requiring global solutions. Climate change, pandemics, economic crises. These problems know no borders, so they need a unified global governance framework. Sounds reasonable, right? But anti-globalists question, who will lead this global governance? Representatives elected by people through democratic processes, or those elites at the Davos Forum? When decision-making power is concentrated in the hands of a few, is this still governance, or is it rule? Trump said at the 2019 UN General Assembly, "The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots." Regardless of what you think of Trump personally, this statement does hit the core issue. In the globalization process, ordinary people's voices are often marginalized. This reminds me of Silicon Valley's elitism problem. Many tech company founders have a savior complex, believing their technology and ideas can save the world. But the problem is, they often live in their own information bubbles, lacking understanding of ordinary people's real needs. When Mark Zuckerberg talked about connecting the world, he probably didn't anticipate that Facebook would become a tool for political polarization and information manipulation. When Elon Musk talks about multiplanetary survival, billions of people on Earth still can't meet their basic living needs. This is the blind spot of elitism. They may have beautiful visions, but often ignore the costs of realizing these visions. And who bears these costs? Staying alert and thinking clearly. After all this discussion, I'm not trying to tell you that the Great Reset is absolutely good or bad. In fact, this world does need change. Climate change, social inequality, tech monopolies are all real problems that need solving. But the issue lies in whether the designers and beneficiaries of solutions are aligned. When a small group of elites designs the entire world's future in closed environments, we have reason to stay vigilant. This reminds me of an old Silicon Valley saying, "Code is law." In the digital world, those who write code are actually those who make rules. When AI algorithms decide what information you can see, when social media platforms decide what speech can spread, these companies actually possess government-like power. What can we ordinary people do? First, maintain independent thinking ability. Don't easily believe any grand narrative, no matter how wonderful it sounds. Second, pay attention to details. The devil is often in the details. When someone promises you a better world, ask, how specifically will it be achieved? Who bears the costs? Who supervises the implementation? Most importantly, remember that technology itself is neutral. The key is who controls technology and whose interests technology serves. In this rapidly changing era, staying alert and thinking independently might be our most important skill. If this content inspired you, don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. In this information explosion era, diverse voices are more important than ever. See you next time. Take care.